All right, the after show of time.
Yes.
The after show of The Dragon Reborn, which feels like a fucking loaded title now that we've seen it.
Yeah, it really is.
God.
Really is.
So, yeah, we're not going to spoil anything for how the books go, but...
Well, and I mean, how the books go might not be how the show's going after seeing what they did here.
Accurate. They're, okay, so only one person can be the dragon. We're not telling you who the books choose that to be.
Yep.
But they, as mentioned in the beginning of the Watchalong, which is on YouTube, if you're not watching us on YouTube, they are keeping it a lot less defined than they do in the books.
Yes.
And they have continued with that less defined path in this episode.
It's become slightly more defined, although that may be a misdirection.
Yeah, could totally be a red herring, but it was an awesome red herring.
Oh yeah, phenomenal red herring.
God, I, as I was watching this one, the thing that stuck out to me was just that, they're doing such a damn good job of tying together, the backstory and philosophy.
Yes.
Like how Maureen tells a story about Manetheren, and it's cool, we get a sense of where they're from. And then, Lan's praying. Nynaeve says the words, we get the story of, wow, you're kind of abandoned by your parents in an intense time. And then he translated it, and it relates back to that story so well that, as a watcher, if I hadn't read the books, I'd be like, I'm getting a sense of this world.
Yeah, you get an emotional tie to, the little background details. When you're following Perrin and he's still in a messed up place because of the wife axing, and then you get these details about kind of the whys behind the Tinker's pacifism and that very intense story from Aram's grandma.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that part was awesome, unexpected philosophy, and then also the Logain talking about how he can hear the voices of the people in the past, and talking about his philosophy of saving the world or binding it versus breaking it, and how directly that ties back to end of episode 3 with the Dark Friend saying we're trying to break the cycle and the wheel.
Right.
It just lays out the philosophical stakes of probably the dragon will try to bind them, and it made Logain seem much more believable as the dragon.
Yes.
Even though obviously we've spent 3 episodes establishing that one of these spunky upstart characters is going to be the dragon, not this rando dude who appeared in this episode or in the end of the last one.
And I was a little suspicious of this one from the start. When they titled it The Dragon Reborn, and episode 3 left us off on just Logain, and then as it starts out we're dealing with Logain business, I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, it would have been such a huge rewrite for Logain to be the Dragon Reborn.
No. I never thought that was going to be a thing.
He has such an awesome character that if you've read the books, you know that this is not the end of Logain.
No, not by half.
And I'm super interested in, if his madness continues, who those voices are and what they do. And he just seems actually, he had a pretty good philosophical basis for what he was doing. And he had some, awesome moments in this one. I love that the king was a regular foot soldier fighting for him. And
the way it started out, I thought it was just going to be some kind of total revenge thing, at least at first, because I don't quite remember where Logain's original origin is from the books, but when the king was you'll never wear the crown, I'm like, oh, okay, he's just burning stuff down. Yeah. When he turns the Dagon around and just there's room for all on my side, I'm like, oh, okay, good on you. Good on you.
Yeah, that was awesome. And it that's the kind of plot twist that I wanted, because obviously just the rape and pillage conquer is we sort of expect that, and that's just the story we've been told so many times.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe it could have been taken a darker turn where it was just a very violent conquest.
Yeah.
And then he's I am the Dragon Reborn. There can be no other kings now, and he just totally plunges the dagger into the king's throat or something.
I honestly kind of expected it, because this show is not hesitating to show some real graphic violence, Parrot's fucking chopping his wife in this dream scene.
Yes, wife axing too. The revengeance.
Oh, God,
I was so happy.
And there was a dream sequence before where the wolves were eating her guts, and then she was still alive and looking at them, they're well, we can't be Game of Thrones' boobs all the time, so I guess we'll be gore all the time. And it's kind of you don't have to be anything all the time. Just saying.
I'm kind of enjoying that they are, though, because they're just not. I mean, it's kind of to get the full impact of where Perrin's at. We either have this, or we have Jordan's 300 pages of Perrin's introspection divided up over multiple books.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that like we can tell that he's troubled in this way, but still, actually, that was Rand's dream, and Perrin's just being an emo dude who's fixing a wheel while everybody's dancing.
Was it only Rand's dream? I got the sense that somehow
a shared dream.
Yeah, shared dream. Like they're all like very
because Matt was already awake and being a fucking creeper. Because he was already in the house, like...
Yeah, that's true.
That was a really cool scene where it was like, oh my god, did Matt just, like, red rum all these people?
Yep.
And then he, like, was just pointing out the Fade. And it still isn't clear, but I think we're all kind of like, no, the Fade did it.
Yeah, that was fairly obvious. But I think still that was my favorite moment of the episode. Like, going through that, there's been all this build-up. There's been talking about, like, how Matt's got all the signs. We get that creepy dream with wife axing too, the revenge. And then there's just, like, corpses everywhere. And Matt's just, like, standing there, back turned. And then they put a twist on it.
Blair Witch style.
I loved that. Just a really great, just well-shot scene.
Totally.
It leads to a nice bit of action. Although, like... realistically, them leaving Tom behind should mean Tom is dead.
Absolutely,
and
very dead.
I do not believe Tom is dead.
No, he's not dead. Tom cannot take on a Fade.
No,
but that scene was.
This is going to be another Nynaeve being dragged away by Trollocs.
Yes, for sure. And then the Fade gets distracted by eating somebody's guts, and he gets yeah. They're gonna have to stretch a little bit, but. It was good up until that point, for sure. And even that was still like, okay, maybe this Tom is like also badass with his daggers and can fight a Fade, but it sort of like takes the Fade's power level and threat level down.
It really does. It really does, because we haven't seen them do much in the show directly.
And
they're just kind of more like they point and tell Trollocs to kill so far.
Yeah, and they scream sometimes.
Yeah, show off the teeth.
I do feel like we got a little bit of his movement in this one where he sort of like slid instead of walked, because they're supposed to they even when they move, like their clothes don't move, like they're like they're, it's not the classic like their clothes blowing an unseen wind, is that like no wind can touch them.
It's the opposite, which is nice because it's kind of it's an inversion.
I loved the like that storyline and justification for Tom staying with them, and like
that was so good too.
It was super cool because Owen is not a thing in the books.
No,
Tom's just like a nice guy, I think, or he makes a promise to Moraine or something to take care of them.
There's something more directly related to Moraine from what I remember. Moraine being up to Blue Aja shenanigans.
And this is way more like personal, and Tom caring for them in a fatherly way. And I just think it's so cool that he sees those signs in Matt. And the show has not said what is going on with Matt, so I'm not going to spoil that either, but like it's different than the books, and it's super cool for him to care, and like a super cool way for us to understand what's going on with Matt, because I think it's something different, but the show is a different beast, so
I'm fairly convinced it's something different, but we'll see.
Totally. That was a really cool moment. I just, like, my gut said my favorite moment was that moment with Lan and Nynaeve.
Oh,
it
really?
Hit me in the feels. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, his praying for Malkier, not so much. Like, that was a little bit weird. But just, like, I feel like they brought the heat, and, like, their relationship started off really funny. It's just getting better. I loved her drinking with the boys.
Yeah, her drinking with the boys is phenomenal.
Like, just her clicking. Like, this episode is, like, fall in love with Nynaeve episode. It's like, because really she was a badass and didn't take shit from anyone in the last one, but in this one, like, not only did she have her limit break moment, which was awesome, but she also just like is making her way in a foreign, like, and over her head level kind of society.
Because she's used to having that position of authority, and you can kind of see that now she carried herself.
Totally. She's like
I am the wisdom, god damn it.
I
will not be pushed around.
Leandrin came to like basically interrogate her, and she's like, no, I'm gonna ask the questions first and see if I want to answer your questions. And Leandrin was just like, whoa.
But we get that awesome. We get that chink in the armor with her drinking with the boys and being like, oh, bisexual orgies.
She's like, well, and then she was like alone with that one dude, and I feel like there's a little bit of sparks, and she was kind of like, I don't know what to do alone with the warder. But I just feel like I'll have to go back and rewatch it, but I was just getting a lot of feels from her interaction with him, and the exchange of like, you're not at all what I thought you were, and him being like, you're exactly. I cannot wait for the payoff of him, because it's going to come up.
Oh yeah,
he's going to say what he thought she was, and that was fucking dope.
It's going to be something great, I'm sure. It's going to be something like terse and like maybe vaguely insulting at surface level, but when you think about it, you'll be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I loved his quiet moment with Moraine too. It was really nice.
Although it was kind of funny for me, just with the lingering comment of like, imagine their suppers.
Yeah, totally.
From order.
Yeah, totally.
It couldn't totally click for me because of that.
Because he walks in and says nothing, for he just like regards her and they have their silent conversation.
Yes.
But that was awesome. I actually misheard that line, or I didn't hear what they said. I just heard him like say something to his I said I, and I thought he said imagine them doing it. Oh. And I was like, yep. I could see a very quiet, stoic kind of like I don't want to imagine that. Oh. If you identify with like the 5 youngsters from the Two Rivers, it is kind of like imagining your parents doing it, but
yeah, it kind of is.
I went there and thought it was funny.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there were a lot of
I'd
good
more
moments.
imagine the two warders and their Aes Sedai doing it.
That was definitely
phenomenal.
Anyway. Yeah, it was awesome. I love the casual like 2 dudes being together thing, because it's again pretty much a rewrite. Like apparently there is one gay, I think, relationship in the Wheel of Time that I've seen people talking about in articles, but I do not remember it from reading it, so it's like not very prominent if so.
Yeah, it's not sticking to my brain. I know there were some heavily implied lesbian ones.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But
heavily.
Yeah, I just love how casual and like consistent the show is being with like, this is a thing in this world and it's not stigmatized at all.
Yep. They're awesome. Not like, putting a spotlight on it. It's just like, oh, no. Yeah. Dude's just like relaxing against
their dynamic was so believable and nice. So I have to return to our segment of like Rand's most punchable moment, because as the show goes on, I feel like he becomes less and less punchable.
He is becoming less punchable.
He's just
even his most punchable moment was probably like his reaction to Matt being like, I need a break, and his expression being like, again.
But it's like so earned, actually. Like Matt is being a lazy. Yeah, and Rand like talking down the farmer and everything. He was like doing a really good job. I was like, I
just being the good cop to Tom's like, oh no, we'll move on once we mount our horses.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so I feel like he wasn't even punchable in this one, which is kind of sad, but like not totally sad.
Then again, he didn't get a huge amount of like focus in this episode.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
it was more about everybody else and him kind of also there.
Yeah, totally. It was not his episode at all. It was Nynaeve's episode, and Matt was the focus of theirs.
Yep.
And
Perrin got a little bit.
Yeah, I once again sort of slept through the whole Perrin and Egwene section.
That's fair. Although I did think it was interesting that Egwene, she said, I'd know if I had, meaning if she'd lost Rand.
Yeah, I like her belief in that, and it like sort of echoes the Warder bond.
Yeah, that I immediately thought of the Warder bond. I was like, has she done that accidentally?
Right? Yeah, totally. That would be interesting. And I like the Tinker Lady's philosophy, and her backstory was super cool. Like she does not get that depth in the book. Like I'm not even sure that she's probably a named character, but that's about it.
Yeah, and that just, there are many named characters.
That once again, the show is doing such a good job of taking what's out of 5 in the books and cranking up to a 10 in like an eighth of the time. You know, because that helped us explore so deeply the way of the leaf, and they hit us with all these leaf metaphors, and it's like, I get a sense of who the Tinkers are now, without like the hundreds of pages that it took. I think they're doing a great job with that. Like,
and at times I felt, from what I can remember of the books, they can the Wheel of Time can get a bit circular in its exposition, where they kind of go over the same point of the magic system or culture or belief, and it's just kind of something where you're like, okay, we didn't need this much on it. I love these books, but please move on, something else.
This exposition is not the beginning, but it is a beginning.
A beginning of a very long section.
Called the third exposition by some.
Oh, it's way more than the third.
Speaking of the Wheel of Time, did you have any background of time stuff that popped up? I had one.
Yeah, a big one that they kind of like touched on, but didn't really. I mean, you can more or less infer it if you do. You're coming into this blind, but the Amerlin seat.
Yeah,
they bring that up with the Aes Sedai, and she's the head lady. She the boss.
Yeah, and you can tell that she's important. And I feel like we got a better sense that Green is Badalaja, and the Liandrin defined herself as being like, I stop people who want to misuse the power, which is cool. And I liked the implied threat of even women there. Like, is she going to have a thing about Nynaeve being a Wilder? You know, is she going to have a thing about Moraine's hidden plan if she finds out? That's some cool hidden threat there.
I kind of wish they gave it more focus to like Moraine as a blue, because they kind of talked around what the blues are about.
Yeah,
but
and
then again they
like said negative things about them. But
yeah, I mean you can kind of define it by the opposite, because the Reds are the Reds kind of suck.
Yeah, they're mean. Yeah, my background of time was the Brigitte doll, because she's a hero of legend.
Oh my God!
Yes! Wow!
I missed the name. I missed the name.
Okay, yeah. If you had heard the name, so Brigitte is a character in the books later on. Who knows if she'll actually come here? But she's very much like a central character. She gets point of view chapters, etc. So it was really cool to see them starting to work in that mythology, because obviously, as the wheel turns, there's heroes who come up over and over. And they can actually be summoned by this horn. Who knows if any of that's going to happen in the show? But calling out Brigitte and talking about her a little bit, and then it was really sweet how the girl said she wants to travel the world. And then they'd fucking kill the girl. As a parent, I despise the cheap kid kill as a way to hit you in the feels. Fuck you. I don't need it. Like, completely, you didn't need to show me her goddamn backstabbed body. I already don't like fades. It did nothing.
We're going to get so many more of them before the show's over.
Yeah, we probably are, and I'm going to say fuck you to everyone. Like, it's just not necessary. But show me all the dead adults. Like, I don't need sexual violence, and I don't need dead kids.
But that's all. Brigitte is, she's very much famed in story, is I believe the term, where, you know, she's, everyone knows about her.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then it's really funny, because in the books, like, look, she came back and, like, nobody knows it's her, and it's kind of cool to like how her actual personality plays off of her legend.
Yes, because you know, legend might not accurately reflect the person 100%.
Right.
You know, wild concept perhaps.
And then she has that very, very awkward romance. But anyways.
Oh God, yes.
What were your 3 words?
My 3 words were Nynaeve, Dragon Reborn? ?
Yes. I mean, it's so goddamn implied. I loved how Moraine, I loved her, like, giving him the benefit of the doubt and being like, are you? Convince me.
Yeah.
Even though it's unlikely and you're 10 years too old, like, convince me. And he couldn't get it done. She's like, you're actually mad, and it's a trickle. And it was such a powerful line, because she's, obviously, he's way more powerful than she is, and she's still like, nope, it ain't you, bitch, like, right to his face.
And also just very blue Aja to, like, keep him talking, because she saw, like, the sisters,
totally.
like, starting to, and she's like, oh, okay, let's do a little distraction.
Totally, yeah. And then to say a trickle to a sun, and then Nynaeve to, like, literally be a sun.
Yeah.
With her braids up everywhere. Yeah,
that said, I can get into it more when we predict what's coming next episode, but I don't actually think she's the dragon.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, well, I don't know.
It could be.
It would just be a little on the nose for them to give it away that quickly. I feel like that's a nice red herring for us to think that for a while until it becomes somebody else.
Yeah, I agree.
But I really thought that it was going to be Balefire, because everybody's dying, and so there's a magic in the books that's like super forbidden, and if you do it, like, time sort of goes backwards a few moments, and it would have been enough to keep everybody from dying.
And it also lets you just kind of just erase something from existence.
Yeah.
Like from the pattern entirely.
Yeah. But you can make too much of a hole in the pattern and it'll fall apart.
So what were your 3 words?
You know, they weren't as good. It's just I heart Nynaeve. Because she's fucking cool. Like,
she's great.
Yeah, in the Watchalong in the end, I called it out, but I just like got really teary at that moment. I was like, this is so awesome. I was really into it. It's like not really a tear-jerking moment, but it jerked the fucking tears from me for sure. And just how she was with Lan in my favorite moment, how she was with Liandrin, how she is with the dudes. I just like, yeah. I got a lot of love for Nynaeve in this episode. And I didn't really click with her in episode 1. In episode 3, she's cool for sure, but this is the one where I'm like, I really like this character.
Yeah, she starts to feel more like a character and less just like a scowly-faced
caricature
plank of wood with a braid.
Yeah, who like, has spunky comebacks and doesn't take shit from anybody. It's
right.
Like, okay, yeah, this character's very familiar, but she got deepened in really cool ways in this one.
And she's
with
needed
her backstory.
So.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Yeah, that was great.
Before we get to other wheels, did you have any Robert Jordan rolls in his grave moments?
I feel like that whole, as much as you loved it, I feel the whole like Logain shrapnel and the big healing blast thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have had him rolling in his grave because healing's always very deliberate and targeted.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever get anything like that in the books.
Like a healing blast?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
I think I alluded to it in the actual watch-along, but they kind of like sort of tech up the magic. There's stuff like Balefire, which we talked about, and way more crazier stuff that they do with the magic, where it's just kind of people realize, oh, hey, we can do this with the one power, or, oh, hey, they used to do this with the one power. Let's do that again. And everyone's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And they never get anything like that healing blast thing. That's...
Yeah. No, it's not really a thing.
I mean, I loved it in the moment, but kind of had a reaction for me at the same time.
Yeah, that's fair. Where do you think next episode's going?
My predictions for next episode are... Nynaeve is, at least for the moment, I don't believe she actually is the dragon, but she's going to be treated as the dragon, and this one, a bit less safe. I believe that Logain is actually going to, like, bend the knee to her. Maybe just in service of,
that's
like,
cool.
Kind of continuing to live.
Yeah.
But I think that's where he's going to go, and then I believe next episode, they said they're hundreds of miles away, but I think we're going to get to the White Tower.
Dang. That's cool. Yeah, I definitely see next episode it being all about Nynaeve, or Nynaeve at least being the center of things, because what she just did was intense, and I think we're going to see a bunch of Aes Sedai politics. Maybe Leandrin's promise of, like, I stop people who shouldn't be using the one power will even apply to her. But if nothing else, Moiraine's going to be like, holy shit, is she the dragon? And all the other Aes Sedai are going to be like, this is a nuts wilder. And, like, they're all going to be battling over it. And Liandrin, I feel like, was already kind of recruiting her for Red Aja.
Oh, absolutely.
So suddenly they're all going to be like, you could be Vital Aja. You could be Healing Aja. So I feel like the whole episode is...
We'll get some, like, Aes Sedai with, like, glasses coming out of the woodwork. The brown Aja.
I'm dying to meet Varen. I am dying
I know.
to meet Varen.
We need Varen.
She is the best of the brown Aja.
By far. I don't even remember anyone else that's brown Aja.
I want to say something so spoilery, and
I know what you want to say.
Yeah.
You cannot
If you've read the books, you know.
You know.
Yeah, I think that Rand and Mac are just going to have, like, hijinks as the Fade chases them. Probably another in-scene thing, because that happens for most of the book.
Yeah.
I think Perrin's finally going to have more stuff happen with the wolves, but that's just because I've read the books, not because of the show at all.
Yeah.
If it was just show, I would say I think they're just going to continue to be boring until they run into other characters. Like, they're literally just going from point A to point B, and point B will be...
That point B is Tar Valon.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, they'll get there. It's, like, very convenient that the Tinkers are going there, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to Aes Sedai politicking in the next one.
Yeah, I had kind of expected it more in this one. I'm a little sad we didn't get it, but I definitely agree. It'll be a big thing, because... their hands have been forced.
Yeah, totally. Now. Yeah. It'll be fun if the White Cloaks show up, too, because they've, like, painted them as such Aes Sedai hunters that I think it'll be really fun to see that happen.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but it could.
Yeah.
It could.
They also kind of have the fragments of an army to deal with, so... I hope they don't just fucking disappear like the Trolloc army did.
I feel like they're going to disappear like the Trolloc army did.
I'm going to be so annoyed if that happens.
I feel like they're probably just going to be like,
people.
We do not have time to deal with the remnants of this army. We need time for Perrin looking sad.
Yeah, we need some emo Perrin.
Possibly glaring at an axe.
Another dream sequence of him axe chopping his wife again.
Yes.
Okay, so before we go, any other wheels turning since the last one? We've actually had a couple of weeks because, as mentioned in the puke sequence, my family has been puking up a storm, so I couldn't make it.
Yeah. Had a little bit there. I have some other wheels turning. I've been reacquainting myself with some works by the Japanese video game developer and director known as Swery. Mostly his Deadly Premonition games. He makes really weird video games. It's like it's like video games made by someone who doesn't play video games or know much about video games. So technically speaking, they are bad, but he also doesn't fall into a lot of like really awful story conventions, and they just have this cool outsider art vibe to them. Like the one I'm playing, you're an FBI agent who stumbles on a murder in a small town. That seems fairly basic, but your FBI agent, instead of going to the site where the body was found, he sees in a painting a hallucination of a voodoo oracle who tells him he must go bowling.
What?
And then he must go to the murder site.
Okay.
When you go bowling, there's a woman there who refuses to let you use the lane, and instead of invoking your authority or waiting for her to leave, the FBI agent collects items to create a sinister voodoo totem to use it to scare her off by placing it in front of her house literally at midnight, so she'll see it when she comes out of her house and not go to the bowling alley.
Wow.
And then you go to the bowling alley, bowl a strike, and then you proceed with the murder investigation.
Wow.
It's bananas. And the older I get, the more I love these just absolute just dives into madness, where it's just at one person's very strong vision.
Yeah.
So Robert Jordan's one very strong vision is strong in Wheel of Time, so if you're into video games, Deadly Premonition and Deadly Premonition 2 could be up your alley.
Nice.
They're weird.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I feel like I finished the novella that I was talking about last time, and I have jumped into Jade Legacy, which is the third book in Fonda Lee's, I think she calls it Jade City trilogy. It starts with a book called Jade City. She calls them epic fantasy, and I think it's totally right, even though they're set in like a 1960s Hong Kong with magic. Oh. They're so fucking cool, gangster. Like, it's epic gangster fantasy, where the gangsters are sort of like samurais who are trained to use this magical power that comes from Jade. It's so fucking good. And there aren't necessarily that many analogs other than that, like the magic is very rule based and it's very epic with a sweeping set of characters. But I just am totally in love with them. These are the best fantasy books that I've read for sure this year and maybe in years. Like, they're really, really good. And so I've been loving reading that one as the rest of my family is like miserable and puking and I'm staying awake at night with my children.
And you do get a lot of reading in, so that's a pretty heavy recommend. Even when there's not, vomiting and horrible sickness in your house all around you.
I do try to get the reading in. But yeah, these ones, Fonda Lee, I have so much respect for. Like, literally because of these books, I want to go back and read everything she's written.
Wow.
Because they're fucking good.
That sounds great.
I'll leave you on that recommendation. If you're not about to jump into the 14-book series that is The Wheel of Time.
It's a lot. There are many beginnings.
Yeah. And, this show is a beginning.
Yes.
I think it's also a very good beginning.
An ending. At least for us, for now.
Yeah, so until episode 5, keep it real, the wheel turns on.
And so does the Watchalong.
Not like sexually at all, just...
What?
Turns.